Hi everybody and welcome back to Crafted by Corie. If you are new, I'm Corie. Really excited you're here. Today I'm participating in the Fab Five Friend Collab. Try saying that 5 times fast, goodness. Stay tuned for more details because we've got some great projects and a little bit of a surprise. And in the meantime, let's get right into the crafting. So here we go with DIY number 1. So for this project, I have been challenged to do pink Christmas with a wire wreath form. So you can see my wreath form there from the Dollar Tree. I've got picks from the Hobby Lobby, also deco mesh from the Hobby Lobby, a bunch of pink chenille stems, some lights from the Dollar Tree, and a few different kinds of ribbon. That first one with the buffalo check was from Hobby Lobby, and then the other 2 are from Costco. So I'm going to start by preparing my wreath form, and I'm using my chenille stems, and you can see how I'm just kind of anchoring them around the wreath form at each of the intersections where the wires are lined up together. And I'm showing you here how if I just twist it on there, you can slide it up and down. So I want to flip one end over the other ring, if you will, so that it anchors it at each position. So I hope that makes sense. Hopefully you can tell by what I'm doing here, where I'm just kind of twisting one of the ends of the chenille stem around the actual hoop part of the wreath. Just want to make sure that all of that is anchored down so everything will be nice and secure and not really sliding when I go to put on the mesh in a little bit. So I'm going to do this all the way around to the wreath form, and once I have all of my chenille stems or pipe cleaners on there, I'm going to take my deco mesh. You saw I just bunched up the end, and I'm going to attach it into the first chenille stem and just anchor it down by twisting that stem a couple of times. Now I'm alternating going from the outer ring to the inner ring to back to the outer ring around my wreath form, and I'm skipping over those other chenille stems for the time being. So now when I've gotten back around, I'm going to do the opposite. So now I'm going to overlap almost like a crisscross pattern, going back around my wreath form again, and I'm going to hit each of the chenille stems that we skipped the first time that we went around. So hopefully that is making sense. And as I create these poofs, they're about 12 inches long. And then when I get to the end, just trimmed that off. So now I have a piece of cardboard that I had notched. I was showing you that notch, and I'm measuring it here for you, but it's about 7.5 inches long. And I'm going to be using this to cut my ribbon. So I'm going to wrap my ribbon around and around and around. I have 16 chenille stems on my wreath form. And so I'm going to be looking to have 16 pieces of ribbon for each ribbon type. So once I had a bunch of it on there, I went ahead and snipped it off of the top edge. That's why I've got that notch on my cardboard, so I know where the top is. And then I'm coming in and dovetailing the ends just to make them pretty. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for all my ribbons. So I have it all prepared. Now I ran out of the buffalo check. I didn't have quite enough on my spool, so I just went ahead and added in another pink ribbon. So here I'm taking one of each of the ribbons and I'm overlapping them, pinching them in the middle, and now you can see I have attached them the same way that I had the deco mesh. So you just tuck it in that chenille stem and twist the chenille stem a couple of times to secure it. And I'm going to keep doing that around the wreath, and you'll notice that I altered the order in which I had those ribbons together. So now I have that glittery one on top, whereas the first batch I had the buffalo check on top, and now I've got that creamy color on top. So I just wanted to mix it up a little bit as I worked my way around the wreath to give it a little bit more interest, so it's not so uniform as you go around. And I'm going to do that for every single chenille stem around here, so you can see that. And now I'm coming in with some of my picks from the Hobby Lobby. These I've had in my stash for quite some time, and if you've watched my videos before, you know me. I am always pulling these things apart, so I clipped these in two. And I'm going to put one at each intersection, if you will. So there are 8 little intersections with the wreath. And then I'm also alternating every other one. I'm coming in with these berry picks as well. I only had 4 of these iced berry picks, so that's why I chose to alternate it. And later I'm going to come in with something else in the places where I don't have the berries. But I'm going to set that aside for right now. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm flipping it over. Sorry, I forgot what I was doing, you guys. So I flipped it over gingerly, and I am actually pulling through all of those little pick stems, and I'm going to make sure I've got them secured at the back of my wreath. So coming in with zip ties, and I know you can get zip ties at the Dollar Tree, and just coming in, so you can see me tucking it in under the stem and around the wreath form, that brace that braces all of the rings for the form. And then I'm taking my little pliers and I'm just bending the wires from the pick so that they don't stick out and poke anybody or anything. And then once I have all those secured, I'm just coming in with some hot glue. And I do this just to make sure that the zip tie is nice and secure, that it's not going to slide. And I also feel like it gives a little bit of scratch resistance. You know, it softens that zip tie. And then I trimmed those off. So now you can see I'm coming back in. These are just some champagne gold toned ornaments from the Dollar Tree. At first I thought maybe I would use the sparkly ones too, but I opted just to use the matte, I'm gonna call it. I mean, obviously they're shiny, but they're not like that reflective shiny, not that mirror shiny. They're just a little bit more matte and really pretty. But you can see I'm tucking it through that chenille stem, and I'm just twisting that off. And I'm doing that in the places where I do not have the berries. So it alternates berries and the little balls. And now you can see I'm twisting off all of those chenille stems, and I'm going to roll it down. You saw there, I'm using a pen and just rolling it down my pen so that it creates just a little tiny tight curly Q and finishes that off. So now I'm coming in with my light string from the Dollar Tree. I've got 2 of these because I knew that it wasn't going to be quite long enough to go all the way around the entire wreath. So I did half of the wreath with the one light, and then I went ahead and did the other half with the other light. And then I secured the light boxes, the battery packs, to the back. So coming in with some wood planks, for lack of a better term. They're just, I don't know what they call them, but they're from the Dollar Tree, pack of 6 for $1. And I'm using my tongue depressor sticks with my Gorilla wood glue, and then also some hot glue for that instant bond. But I'm going to create a little sign for the center of our wreath. So using the Gorilla glue for that long-term bond, and then just the hot glue for the ability to continue working with the project. And I'm going to glue down all of those sticks. And I did the 2 outer ones first just to make sure that I had everything lined up and secure. And as usual, I'm using my straight edge just to have something to line everything up with and make sure that it's all even. So once that's done, I'm going to come in with my Rust-Oleum white chalk paint and my red home decor chalk paint. I want to say it's called Orient. I'm gonna have to look that up, you guys. I can't remember right now as I'm doing my voiceover, but I'm mixing the 2 paint colors together. I had used up my pink, but I had saved my container because I had a feeling at some point I was gonna need pink paint again. So I've mixed up my pink here, and this is like a nice deep pink that I've done for this project, and going to give it a really good coat. And I just did 1 coat of the pink paint for this. So now I had created a stencil on my silhouette cameo, and I'm just weeding it out here. And I will make this available in my Etsy shop for you all, if there's interest. So just weeding it all out. I know not everybody has a silhouette or a cricket, so like I said, I will make this available in my Etsy shop, but you can also do a transfer. You could hand letter this. There are a lot of other options. You don't necessarily have to have a vinyl cutter to do this. And so I've got my stencil placed, And I'm coming back in with my pink paint again. This is, as you know, if you've watched me before, I'm sealing in my stencil to try to help avoid with any bleeds. And then I'm coming in with my Victorian pink chalk paint. This is also by Home Decor. And once I'm all done with that, I will go ahead and pull off my vinyl and weed out anything that is still there. And this was sticking real well, so I had to kind of tear it up there to get it off, but it all worked out in the end. And look how crisp those lines are. It came out real nice. So now I'm coming in with my chippy brush, also with the Victorian pink, and just dry brushing it. You saw I have my little scrap paper there, and I am just really taking just a very little bit of paint on my brush and running it all over the sign, and I'm focusing on the outer edges, and then I'm trying to go the same direction back and forth across the sign. So now I'm taking a couple more chenille stems. I'm going to hot glue these onto the back of my sign so that we can use it to position it into the wreath. So I'm going to tuck it in where I want it, flip it over, and then use my chenille stems to attach it to the wreath form. And there you have it. And then you just fluff up your ribbon and make sure everything is the way you like it. So if you've not visited with me before, my name is Corie, and Crafted by Corie is my channel. I do all kinds of DIYs on a budget, a lot of Dollar Tree. I have a monthly coffee with Corie the first Sunday of every month, and I do thrift flips, trash to treasure, a little bit of everything. I tend to slant traditional / farmhouse, and I hope you'll come back and join me and visit with me again soon. So here we go with DIY number 2. So for this project, I am using these little tiny wood blocks from the Dollar Tree. They came in a pack of, I'm not even sure how many, a whole bunch. I have some popsicle sticks, and now I'm using the thick STARBOND CA glue. Now CA glue, I learned, is just another word for super glue, and STARBOND has sent me a bunch of different glues to try out for you guys, and I'm really enjoying them. I'm showing you right there the little bag that came with it. This is how it was packaged, this little box. It had all of these little tiny detailed nozzles. So if you have a project where you're trying to get in just a teeny tiny bit of glue, they provided all these little nozzles for us. Now, I don't need those for today's project, but I do need that as the cap that I'm going to be using afterwards. It's got like a little pin in it, but it's all like concealed inside that red little cap, if you will, so no chance of poking yourself, which is good. So here is the nozzle that also came with it, and I'm going to open up the glue, put on my nozzle, and then you just clip off the nozzle and you are good to go with your glue. Now this is the thick, with the thick version of their glue. They have a thin, a medium, and a thick. And you can see I'm putting this on real heavy, and I'll tell you about that in a second. But the thick is supposed to give you a little bit of extra time to work with your project before the bond sets. So I was finding if I held it for about 30 seconds, I was good. Now, I did not read the instructions before I started doing this, and I couldn't understand why my little blocks weren't sticking properly. And it's because you only need a single drop of this for every 1 square inch of your project. So you can see it's not sticking because I put way too much glue on here. Eventually, I did check out the instructions and figured it out, and it started working wonderfully. So only need a single drop. And so this little bottle is going to last me quite a while using a single drop at a time, right? So here I am, finally, I'm like, okay, one little drop, and put down my popsicle stick. So I did that. I've got my 4 little base blocks, and now I am putting down 3 popsicle sticks on my base. And then I'm going to be coming in, I'm cutting a popsicle stick in half, and I'm going to use that as a base for 3 additional popsicle sticks. Have you figured out what I'm making yet? This is going to be part of my mini series. If you've been watching my videos, you know I am in the process of building or constructing a Christmas or holiday winter village. So with each of my videos now through the holidays, I am doing at least one mini project to add to my winter village. So I am building a little bench for this one. So now I don't want people like sitting straight up, you know, your bench back usually has a little bit of a slant to it. So I cut off a little tiny piece of another popsicle stick, and you can see me adding it to the top of the block, so near where the seat part is. Again, just a single little drop is all that's needed, and that's going to help me provide, and you can see how I'm able to work with it, right? Because this glue, because I'm using the thick, and it gives me about 30 seconds before it starts really setting, I was able to work with it a little bit more and put it where I wanted it, rather than it just automatically adhering the second that it touched the surface, right? So, but that's going to give me the angle I want. Ooh, there I am. See there? So that it's not like straight. So it's going to look a little bit more realistic. So again, applying just a single dot of glue in the two spots where I need it to be secured, and going to go ahead and add the back of my bench. And I'm setting it down on the table so I can make sure that everything is even and straight. And there we go. Look at how cute. I love miniature little things. So I'm coming in with my Waverly chalk paint in Fern, and I'm just going to give this a nice good coat. I did a single coat of this for my bench, so I've got a little green park bench for my winter village. Let me know what you think. So as I mentioned earlier, I am part of the Fab Five Friend Collab. You can see all these lovely ladies that are participating. In my description box, you will find a link to the person who challenged me and to the person I challenged. Make sure you watch all of our videos and comment on every video, and you're going to be entered to win a $50 Amazon gift card. This is such a great collab with a lot of wonderful ladies, so I hope that you'll watch all the projects. All right, here we go with DIY number 3. For this project, I have 3 of these little houses from the Dollar Tree. I also have the 69-cent piece of paper from Hobby Lobby. I only paid 25 cents because I got it during their 4 for $1 sale on their paper. They've got lots of great stuff. And I'm coming in and scoring this because I'm going to pop the backs off of these. And I know sometimes we have trouble with the paper that's on there, and I was trying to keep this as clean as possible. So I found that if I score the edge inside of there before I pop it off, it just makes it a lot easier. So then I traced my shapes onto the paper, and now I'm just attaching them with the double-sided tape from Dollar Tree. Love that tape, you guys. If you can find that at the Dollar Tree, grab it. I found it in the Crafter Square area. I am loving it. So I just prepped the other sides. Now I am going to reapply the house part. I'm just putting it back on with some hot glue. I was kicking myself that I did not use the STARBOND glue for this because I ended up with like a little bit of a gap, and I was like, you just used the STARBOND glue. I'm just not in the habit of using it right now. I'm always grabbing for my hot glue, but if you have the opportunity, use the STARBOND for that. So now I am taking some foam core board, and I am tracing out, I say tracing, I'm not really tracing anything, I'm just creating letters, and I made it too thin, so I'm going back in and fixing it. So I'm going to be doing a J and a Y, and then I'm going to use my craft knife and cut out the letters that I drew. And I'm not so worried about the ink marks because I am going to be covering this with a colored cardstock in a little while. So I'm just getting that all set. You can see me drawing out my Y. I did measure everything because I'm going to be setting these inside my little houses. So I just wanted to make sure that they were going to fit. And I'm not giving dimensions because it's really the kind of thing where depending on what size little house you're working with, you're going to want to just eyeball it and measure it and figure out what size you want it to be to get the look that you're aiming for. So now coming in with one of my Hobby Lobby picks, you guys have seen me working with this quite a bit. I have this from my stash and I absolutely love it. It's nice and soft and fluffy, but to me it looks like evergreen. So I am taking full advantage of it for the winter season. And I'm making a little wreath that will serve as my O. I'll be coming back to that in a minute, but as I mentioned, I'm going to be covering my J and my Y with some cardstock. So I've got my red cardstock. I'm just tracing these out. You saw that I was doing my J backwards. Maybe you can't tell from this angle, but I had it backwards because, again, I don't want my ink marks to show. So when I attach that, it'll be on the other side, or the back side. Hopefully that makes sense. So you can see here a little bit better how my J is backwards right now. I did that on purpose. See, flipping it over, now you can't see my ink marks. Using my double-sided tape again because I am in love with it, and making sure that my letters are all nice and neat and secure to my foam core board. So once I have that all set, I'm going to come in with these foam mounting tape pieces. And this is also something I picked up at the Dollar Tree for a while. I've been wanting to use these, and this was a great opportunity to do it. And this is just going to help give it a little bit more of that 3D look. So it's a double-sided tape, but it's foam, and so it's maybe 1/8 of an inch thick. So it just helps to pop your item up off of the surface, if you will. So I did that with my J and my Y, and now I'm coming in with a little remnant from my floral pick here. It's just a piece of wire, and I'm creating a little hook for my wreath. So I'm kind of twisting it around, creating like a little O, for lack of a better term, that will be the piece that's attached to the little house, and then there is a hook extending from it, and you'll be able to see it a little bit better in a second. But I'm just checking to make sure that my wreath is going to fit on it, and trying to look for the position where I want the wreath to hang inside the little house. So there you can see a little bit of what I was trying to do. And you can see my little wreath hangs on it quite nicely. So I'm going to secure that with some hot glue. There, I'm just making sure I've got it in the right position here. So you can see that little O that I had created with the hook. Putting down my hot glue and just getting that nice and secured in there. A little bit of extra hot glue and it should be good to go. So I set that aside to cool, and now I'm coming in with some Dollar Tree ribbon, and this is just it's a green and red kind of twisted ribbon with this gold, I don't even know what you'd call it, but it's woven through it, and I think it's super cute. Trimming off my ends. I had just done a cute little basic bow, just like tying your shoelaces, making sure it's all cool so it doesn't start sticking to my stuff, and coming in with some hot glue to secure my bow to the top of my wreath. Making sure it's nice and cool and putting it on its little hook. I'm in love with this, you guys. I think it's so sweet. So now I decided I wanted to use some more of this ribbon just to give a border to my J and my Y. If you choose to do this, I do recommend doing it before you stick it inside the little houses, because it was a little bit more challenging to work with than it needed to be. So again, I do recommend that if you're going to do this, put it on first and then go back and attach them inside your houses. So now I am coming in with paint on each of my houses. I used oatmeal for one, I used mineral for another, and then I used red on the third one. So I believe this is the oatmeal that I'm using on this one, if I'm not mistaken. And then on the O, I'm using the red. And then I'll come in on the J and use the mineral. I just wanted to have a little bit of difference and nice colors that would complement each other. And for something else that I'm keeping a secret, you'll have to watch my next video to find out. But now I'm coming in with my little miter saw. There is a link to this in the description box in case it's something you'd like to check out. And I've cut down all of my little paint sticks. Going to be using my black chalk paint Voila, they are all painted black. I gave them a really good coat of paint. Now I'm coming back in with my STARBOND glue. This is the thick again, and I am just placing my shingles on my roofs. And I did that for all 3 little houses. As you can see, I have 4 pieces of the paint sticks for each house, and I'm letting there be a little bit of an overhang for my roofs. And here we go with DIY number 4. So for this, I'm using a styrofoam ball from the Dollar Tree, as well as a dust mop head, also from the Dollar Tree. And then I'll also be using my hot glue for this project. So I'm going to be wrapping this around, and here I'm cutting it down to the size that I need. And I'm coming in with my hot glue. Of course, I needed another little baton of glue. And I'm just being really generous with my hot glue and wrapping this little duster around until I get it where it needs to be. So tucking in all of the edges at the sides and just trying to get it into a ball shape as I go around here. Just adding a little bit more hot glue where needed, just to make sure everything is nice and secure. And this actually was a lot easier than I expected it to be, y'all. I wasn't expecting it to be as easy as it was. So now I have, this is just a cap from a drink. It's like a Gatorade or a vitamin water, I'm not really sure, but this is a cap. So I tend to save everything just in case, because you never know what you're going to need. And Wendy from White Sparrow Living says it's not hoarding if you use it. So I totally subscribe to that philosophy, and so I'm using it. But I'm coming in with my pumpkin chalk paint and gave that a coat. And now with my black felt, I'm going to cut a little, a couple of little pieces off of here. I actually ended up doing a third one because I didn't like how they didn't match. So I went in and cut one more, and these are going to be the little eyes that we need. So I'm going to tuck those in and secure them with some hot glue. I was just kind of parting the pieces of the mop to get them in where I wanted them. You just need to be a little patient with it because obviously there's a lot of fluff here. So I'm creating eyes here. I don't know if you figured out yet what I'm making, but I'm creating the eyes, and I'm trying to kind of work with it a little bit right now, figuring out how to get the eyes to be more prominent and for them to be a little bit more defined. So that's what I'm doing right now. And then I was looking at that little beak, and I decided that I wanted to come in with my ARTEZA bronze acrylic paint marker, and because the orange was just a little too orange for me, so I came in with my bronze paint marker, and I really liked the color that it gave. And I think it would have been a completely different color had I not had that orange under it, so I was pleased that I had the orange under it to start. And then I just went in with some hot glue to secure the little beak as well. So just trimming off a little piece, and then I'm playing with the eyes again and trying to figure out how do I get these to stand out. If you haven't figured it out, I'm making an owl. I had seen these cute little owls in, I think it might have been the Lakeside Collection catalog again, but I decided, you know what? I'm going to go for it. I'm going to try and give him a haircut because I figured he needed to be a little bit more defined. So giving this little boy a haircut all over and just hoping for the best. And you know what? It worked out really well. So if you try this project, be prepared. You're going to be giving your owl a haircut. Now he did have a bald spot up top, and that was part of the way that the mop was mop head or whatever the duster thing was constructed. That wasn't because I gave him too much of a haircut. So I just came in with some of that extra fluff and covered up that little bald spot. I think it's probably where the dust mop attaches to a handle. It was just an empty space. So I'm dusting off the extra fluff, and look at how cute he is. I love him. So here we go with our final reveal. Okay, that's it for today, everybody. Be sure to check out my description box for all of the details on the person who challenged me, as well as on the person I challenged. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought of today's projects. Give me a big thumbs up if you liked them. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe and hit that bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. It really does support my channel, and I appreciate you. So until the next time, be well, be kind, and make it a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Take good care. Bye.